Hello, Natalia Vladimirovna. Good afternoon. Today I would like to talk about such an interesting direction as esoterics, which has acquired new facets for many people who are in search of their own path of spiritual development. Many people face esoteric directions in the process of their development in search of a spiritual teacher. To what extent does science assess the level of esoterics differently today? And how can a person not fall into the net of that illusory esoteric direction, which is also present on the planet nowadays? At present, esoterics as such does not exist. Science knows so much about the various processes of everything that happens, that esoterics has indeed moved into the category of science, quantum physics, quantum dynamics, string theory, wave genetics. That is all esoterics. That esoterics that was in the third dimension has moved to the level of science. And now the scientific world understands and knows a lot about the life of those particles of which everything consists. Scientists do not understand everything, far from everything, but very serious discoveries have already been made, and very serious statements, and a lot of important dissertations have been written, which are scientific evidence of everything that happens, including the arrangement of life and space. So, esoterics as such does not exist. There is quantum physics, which gives an accurate understanding and knowledge of the behavior of the particles of cosmic reality, of which everything on this planet and in the entire cosmos consists. A person who is looking for his own path in spiritual development very often faces the fact that the choice he makes at a certain stage of his life is not just a fateful choice, but a choice that changes his life completely. Natalia Vladimirovna, there is such a thing as a point of no return. How not to miss that elusive golden moment of our life when our choice in all aspects determines how we will develop further? Well, in the first question you asked about how a person doesn't get into certain networks. Indeed, there are a lot of networks, and this is all information. But often, this is information that takes a person into completely different dimensions of his life, into other states, into destructive states. And how can a person really understand whether he is developing correctly, and in general, does he need to know this and be engaged in this? I will tell you that life itself is the indicator of everything. If you study certain directions, scientific facts and directions that explain life, and everything is fine in your life and your life is changing for the better, you are on the right track. If, nevertheless, your life itself and your eternal state have negative states, that is, negatively charged particles, not creative, not positive, this indicates that you are lost, you are going the wrong way, you are not engaged in what you need to do, not the one that gives you a level of prosperity, success, good luck, and creative life. How to understand all these informational aspects of life now? How to understand all this? It's not easy, my friends, it's not easy, but I want to say that you always get a hint from above, and not a single moment of your life is accidental. You are always given in life exactly what you need to understand and realize at this moment. And I want you to understand this and correctly relate to those situations, to those prompts, signs from above that you receive. If you have a request for knowledge of something, you will always be offered and given the information, an offer. And depending on what you are ready for and what you yourself correspond to, those proposals will be given to you. In order for the proposals to be correct and the knowledge to be the highest, you need to change your internal states. You need to become different. You need to become correct. What are the correct ones? Honest, kind, open, constructive. Well, in general, we talk about this a lot, and in each of our programs these words are heard about kindness, mercy, honesty, which is now absolutely absent, but it is at the heart of life itself. In spiritual development, there are stages that determine the growth of a person. And when the students come to you for the first time, they are at the very beginning level. After completing the basic level, they say that they are having a reboot of their lives. The people who destroy them leave, those who create come, and many processes change. Natalia Vladimirovna, is it necessary to wait, and can we expect a quick result from spiritual development? And why might it be like that? And if it's not fast, then why is it so? My friends, you are all identical, which means that you are all different. And since you are all different, everyone has their own bag over their shoulders, a bag of certain tasks that are quickly solved for one person, and he is ready for this and even knows what needs to be done, and the other needs to change so much in himself, he needs to develop so many necessary inner qualities that he needs years and sometimes even lives. Therefore, when you come to study, everyone has results, and it depends only on you how fast or how slow it is. And again, the whole process of your evolution plays a role. How many lives you have lived, what experience you have gained, what conclusions you have drawn, what evolutionary stages of your development you have lived through. All this plays a role in the process of your spiritual development. I will tell you, friends, that everything always depends on you, always. So it has always been, so it is, so it will be forever. You play a main role in all your processes. And when you come to develop, taking care of yourself, your direct duties, self-development, everything depends on the state in which you came. And one person at a certain stage must first restore his health, because he is so sick that there can be no talk of any development. First, they need to restore their health. The other person comes in a more correct state, and he doesn't have so many diseases and destructions, so he goes faster, grows faster, and comes to certain understandings earlier. But all people are different, and it is impossible to talk about any one process. Each of you always has it in your own way. But when you realize this process correctly, this process opens up before you in the right way. In one of the broadcasts, you said a phrase that for many people has become a very clear confirmation of how everything works on a subtle plane and in a world where there is a higher mind. God does not interfere at all. So, Natalia Vladimirovna, does the higher mind expect us to make a choice every moment? Or does it push us to this choice, creating certain situations that will create us? Or even giving us problems in this creation, they will still develop us? Yes, my friends, you want to ask, when we get a negative experience, does it develop us or not? It develops, my friends. Every moment, every task, every situation, and everything that surrounds you develop you. And regarding the higher mind, if it were not there, would this life and you be in this world, in this life? There would be nothing. Without his participation, nothing can be. Nothing happens. Everything that happens is his participation. But there is a law of free will, the right to choose. Therefore, on the one hand, the higher mind is waiting for your decisions. But on the other hand, since you are an undeveloped form of life, he helps you, pushes you, and guides you in this process. Therefore, my friends, become watchful of life. Be very attentive, very alert, and try to understand your every choice, every process, and every state of yours. Only then will you follow the right path of your development. And each of you has a plan. There are tasks, and these tasks need to be implemented. And exactly our choice creates this. To quote you, in spiritual development there is a beginning but no end. It is a lifelong process. And when a person comes to spiritual development at the age of 16, this is one state. At 60 years, this is another state. Your students follow the same path, but everyone has different paths to God and to spiritual development and ascent. Natalia Vladimirovna, to what extent have planetary processes complicated this path now? And how important is it not to lose yourself in everything earthly, destructive, having high knowledge? After all, the dark forces are also introducing their destructive processes. Sometimes people don't even know what dark forces are. They think that this is something from the realm of the incomprehensible and esoteric, and no one has seen this, which means it does not exist. But nothing like that. Quantum physics explains it as negatively charged particles. These are the destructive vibrations of this planet. And the whole problem is that spiritual forces from above only help you, but you interfere with yourself, with your own hands, with your wrong undeveloped choice. If you all inspired to the knowledge of everything that happens, the structure of life, and yourself in this life, the cosmos would help you even more. Highly developed beings living on this planet would fill you with certain high vibrations even more. But people mismanage everything, and people do not direct the processes that take place on the planet to creation, but rather strengthen the destruction even more, strengthen destructively charged particles. That is, those particles that you call minus, particles of destruction, particles of low vibrations. And many people build their lives solely on these negatively charged particles that you call evil. Evil is what these particles are. Humanity needs to grow, it needs to become conscious, and it needs to want to develop spiritually, because no one has the right to force you to do this. The higher mind only observes and does not interfere. And people mismanage these high energies, knowledge and states, directing them to destructive states and processes, creating what they create: wars, aggression, depression, disasters, accidents, and so on and so forth. That is, all this leads humanity to gain experience, destructive experience. And you know, having suffered, people still come to the understanding that something needs to be done in life. It is impossible to live like that. But also not all people, but only those people who have gained their certain experience, whose consciousness is more expanded. Because a person with a narrow consciousness will not come to such a conclusion. He will continue to engage in self-destruction and destruction of the world around him. In general, the topic that we are talking about today is so complex and serious, and there are so many different facets and information here that, talking about it, I understand how much I have not said. Why can't I tell you everything? The consciousness of many people is very narrow, and they are not ready to hear these greatest secrets, this greatest science of the Creator, the higher mind. A spiritual person is a person who is led from above, and here there is a very thin line of not just faith, faith in the teacher and therefore faith in God. There is also trust. What's the difference? After all, many people say, "I believe," but sometimes the circumstances of life add up when a person loses vigilance and something destructive happens. But the person believes. Does this mean there is no trust? Yes, many people do not have confidence. They think they have faith, but faith is determined by trust. When you trust, you remember it. And when can you trust? When you can explain it to yourself. And how can a person explain this if no one teaches it at school or at institutes? My friends, that new life that has come, in particular quantum physics, explains all the processes of the creative energy of the higher mind. Quantum physics, higher mind, and humans are one. A human consists of a higher mind, which includes quantum particles, and everything you see around you is also quantum particles. When a person understands the structure of life and how it is created, he will have trust. When there is no understanding, there is an emptiness in the consciousness, and the negatively charged particles, which you call the egoistic programs of evil, use this emptiness. This is what you need to understand, friends. When you understand this and realize it, you will strive for development. And by striving, you will surely find answers to all your questions. Evolve. This is the idea of evolution itself.